the podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson, sponsored by CBTs.
Oh yeah. Me and JJ back in the house. Woo! Got a special guest tonight. Before we introduce him, I gotta say, I'm sitting here looking at Jeremy and our special guest, and I'm feeling a little hair deficient. I got the nice manicured Marine Corps look.
You got some scruff.
And my two guests here, well, my co-host Jeremy Jackson is looking like caveman extraordinaire.
We're letting our
just
freak
like
flags
paleo.
fly.
And then our special guest, and actually it really is a special guest tonight. Let me do the proper introduction. Jim, you go ahead and turn that down. Before I get into this, I got to say, get ready for the applause, Jim, because I got to give a big thank you to Jim Brook of Providence Video Productions for setting this up, Jeremy. What kind of podcast do we have right here? Dude,
Ooh, Jim is in the house.
yeah. We got a serious... We have 4 cameras going on us right now. We've got live switching on the mics. We got everything happening here. So this is a legitimate podcast meant to entertain, encourage, and motivate you. But with that said, Jeremy, we got a special guest in the house. And I got to tell you, for me, this is probably the best guest that we'll have for me, honestly, because it's my son, Mitch. What you know about that, man?
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, isn't it on?
Yeah.
It's awesome, for real.
Nothing more magical than that.
Yeah. So give some applause, Jim, for my son, Mitch Bartram, in the house today.
Should I say something? Hello.
Well, I do have a question for you. I want to know. Let's just jump right into this before we get into Jeremy's awesome idea about the podcast. Well, let's talk about that first, then I'll ask Mitch some questions. We can get into Mitch. Tell me your idea, dude. I think it's pretty smart.
Well, we jumped into this feet first, full of faith, knowing that we had gifts and talents and passion, purpose to offer. We knew that all our friends and supporters would jump on board with us and help us hit a home run. But, we're open to options and ideas and strategies. And, we were just waiting for the magic to hit us. So, everybody here on Instagram Live here, on Facebook, everybody listening to the podcast, we would like you all to weigh in. We're thinking about calling our podcast the Pantsless podcast. That means no pants. Anybody that comes in, anybody that joins us, whether you be a pastor,
Got to be naked from the waist down.
a motivational speaker, a world changer,
Naked from the waist down.
naked from the waist down.
A sophisticated aristocrat.
Yes,
Naked from the waist down.
naked from the waist down. The
Everybody.
Pantsless podcast.
I'm not sure if the studio will allow that or not. I don't,
We can have privacy blocks.
Privacy blocks?
Yeah.
No one would see us, but that is actually a pretty good idea. But
It
I
creates some
doubt,
vulnerability.
look at the cameras right now, though. So if we can go to a wide shot up here.
You can't see.
Wait.
Yeah, you
Bam.
can
It
do.
creates
Right there,
vulnerability.
Mitch would just be
I'm
giving
spread.
the
What's up,
full-blown
I'm wide.
nuts, everything, all in the shot. So
Well, we'll put like a hefty bag down on the seat or something so he doesn't leave any skitties.
I'll try not to.
What if somebody were to get aroused? What if the conversation got so stimulating that,
You can't hide.
and
There's
I think,
no hiding.
yeah, I feel inferior though. Just like I feel hair deficient, I probably am wiener deficient in this group. So
Well, you guys.
we
probably
could
already
start
know.
it right now.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one who it's mysterious to. You guys are fully. You've seen each other's penises. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh my goodness.
we're not arguing there.
Christina says yes. We got a couple yeses on Instagram. The Pantsless podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson.
So, okay, we'll put that on. We'll leave that up for vote, you guys. But I got to ask Mitch, my son. So he's 22 years old. This is a pretty established guy. And I got to tell him, and I want to say this on our podcast, I'm actually a fan of you as a person. I'm not just proud of you as my son, but I'm a fan of you and your sister Taylor as human beings because you've both grown up to be truly amazing people who are living life on your terms. So with that being said, I just got to ask you, what was it like being my son?
Oh.
I just want to know. Because I am a pretty intense guy. I'm a pretty focused guy. And
Intense. That's a good word.
really?
Oh, for sure.
Why? What did I do?
I'm pretty sure anybody who knows you, who sees your videos that you put on YouTube or your Facebook page or whatever, or the first thing you say every single time you get on a conference call as, "You got me fired up." So you're
Go ahead, do your best Clark Bartram imitation right now. Let's do Monday
Maybe
morning mindset.
It has to come out.
It's got to come out organically.
I can never force things.
Okay. If you feel at any point, feel free to jump in and do your best.
Yeah. Super intense. I mean, obviously, I can focus on the difficult aspects of it. I can focus on the
What would be the difficult
good aspects of it.
Everyone thinks, this world has the image of me like, Clark, oh, he's such an awesome guy, this and that. But you've experienced me every day of your life for 22 years. So you have a different perspective. Go ahead and lay it down, brother. I mean, this is a no-holds-barred conversation. You know us. I ain't getting my feelings hurt.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Are you trying to do this?
I hope.
Are you trying
Let's go. Let's go, full blown.
I might not go full blown.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't feel like...
Well, you already said
if I was in a mode that I needed to excavate some things between us, maybe. But I guess I could start by saying something positive.
Okay.
Something I've been trying to tell myself every day is that I'm an extremely privileged human because of a lot of different things. Because I'm appear to be white, completely white skin, that's a reason why I'm privileged, sadly. But more than just that, I'm privileged because I have parents who fully support me in everything that I do, no matter what it is that I do. And I am at home, not paying you guys, so I have the
You're not paying rent? Oh shit! I don't have to talk to your mom about that.
I have the ability to, since I'm not giving you guys money, I have the ability to pay for school that I want to go to because I'm genuinely interested in learning more about the body and healing the body and becoming a holistic health practitioner if that's where it leads to. I can go pay a monthly fee for jiu-jitsu that maybe I wouldn't be able to afford, or I can be more at ease when I'm trying to build my clothing brand because I know that I'm not getting, money siphoned out of my pocket because I'm sitting on money right now because I've saved it and because you guys are allowing me a space to do that and a foundation and support. So I tell myself every day I'm thankful for being privileged because I am, and I'm blessed. And I have a great support system, and a great foundation. You wanted me to say like some bad things, and I'm
no, dude. I mean, if that's what came out of you organically, dude, I want to sit here and cry, man. I mean, Jeremy, it's pretty dope.
It's beautiful, and it's interesting because we were kind of on the topic of families.
He's all, Mitch, talk shit about me. I'm like,
no, we were at dinner just talking about families and the dynamic of families and how interesting it is. My relationship with my mother and his relationship with his mother. And we're talking even about my dad a little bit. You know, interestingly enough, which is not a topic that comes up. So it's very fitting that we're doing this right now. It's
See why I want to keep this organic, dude?
Yeah, I'm
and not like be so constrained to some topic that we got to talk about, because if we stop this podcast right now, I think so many people be enriched by it because of what you said. So I want to thank you. That's legitimate. And as a parent, that, you guys, lets me realize that I did something right. Even on all the turmoil that I experienced throughout my life and my childhood, here I am sitting here as a parent having this moment with my son, and I asked him, hey, just go ahead and say whatever you want. And that's what came out of his mouth, man. So that is why this is the best guest that we will ever have on this show. So thanks for that, Mitch. That was legit, man. So let's lighten up the mood a little bit, man, before it gets too deep.
Amen.
So what we got? So Mitch is actually a very smart guy. He studies a lot. He was a very good college athlete. Yep. We had Gary Plummer here last week, who's a Super Bowl champion. I had the privilege myself of watching my son play, coached him all of his life.
Which is one of the things, when people ask me about you, Clark, when I tell people about you, it's one of the first things I throw in there. You know, it was like, Clark Bartram, he was like on the More Fitness cover magazines than any dude. I mean, he was the EAS guy, remember? I mean, he's a beast of an athlete. I told him how old you are, of course, you know, because I got to brag about what you're up to, even as old as you are. And you know, he coaches his son's high school football team. because I got to witness that, which was really cool. I'm so glad I got to be there and see that and be a part of that, because that was huge, and you were inspiration to so many people in there. That's like one of the 5 highlights I throw out at people, because that's where I really got to see you shine in that. So that was a really cool thing.
Wow. Man, I feel like I'm getting a gift today. Jim, thanks for making this happen.
This person said real emo up in there.
Oh yeah. We're getting emo. I'll get even more emo. We were talking about
Thank you.
last week or the week before. Clark asked me. He said, "Hey, do you, is that why you like me? Because I'm like a father figure to you?" He asked me that. Your dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you know, I had been talking to my mom. I didn't really phrase it right, but I was talking to my mom a couple weeks ago. And I was like, you know why I like Clark so much? Because I get to look on the outside looking in and be like, wait a minute, why isn't this guy like a billionaire? You know what I mean? Like, why, like he's done so much, like, and that's like how that's how I think of myself too. Like with all as hard as I try and as great as I do, why don't I like have a Lamborghini or whatever? You know what I mean? Like if anybody should have it, should be you, with all the people you've coached.
But money cannot buy what just happened.
Of course.
But Mitch has kind of a funny story about that. I remember when you bring kids home from school and they would go in the garage and there's all these covers hanging, and tell them. Well, Mitch would get pissed, man.
Well, the first thing that just came into my brain when you guys were talking about that, when I've always been called, or I've always been thought that we were just loaded, just super rich. You know, I live a block from the elementary school I went to, so everybody knew where I lived, knew that's Mitch's house, and everybody thought like, oh, Mitch is so rich, and then they'd come over to the house and they'd be like, why don't you have like a mansion? What like that's the first thing that came to my mind, is people would always think we were so rich, and that we lived on this huge mansion on the hills, until they came over to the house and they're like, "Oh, you're just normal."
And
like,
why? Because they heard about your dad.
They knew my dad. Well, because he would come to the house.
It's the energy that he carries that makes. Well, yeah,
it's the energy. But then he also, did Batman movies, and he played the movies in our library for my class and different classes. So everybody at school knew my dad was Superstar, Batman, and we did the 5th graders versus the staff. Softball game, 5th graders versus the teachers, and my dad was invited because he was a PE teacher at the time, a volunteer, and he gets up and everybody's like, Batman.
Everyone's like, back up.
Yeah, back up. He's like, I'm a fucking miss.
I remember I felt so much pressure because everyone like backed up as far as they could. I'm thinking, damn, I hope I just hit this thing, man. So I bunted. I'm like, I'm not taking the chance to embarrass myself right now. It's a
smart thing to do. They backed up. I mean,
they backed up and laid down the bunt, man. Sometimes you got to lay down the bunt.
Smarter, not harder. It's the way to go.
Yeah, but about the garage with all your pictures and stuff.
Yeah, and then.
If any of you guys have no idea, which if you've ever seen my dad's Instagram lives, he tours it every time. So you probably have seen our garage. Some of you guys, it has pictures of all of the things he's done. Like all the magazine covers, billboard, stuff like that. And my friends would come in there and just trip out on my dad being on magazines. And I'd just be like, yeah, he's on over 150 magazine covers. He did a Batman movie. Blah, blah, blah. It's not really a big deal to me because I lived with it my whole life. I grew up with it. He's just my dad, and that's the things he's done. And that's like, I don't know, your dad had a 9 to 5 and you didn't trip on that.
Right.
So my dad did his thing and does his thing. And now I can appreciate it more when I look at it for what it is. But, before I was being consciously observant, I was just like, yeah, I mean, he does those things. That's what he does. And my friends would just be like, oh, you guys are so rich, man. That's crazy.
But it's like perception is almost more valuable than the facts.
Oh, fantasy,
you know what I mean?
man. People's
if
fantasies.
People perceive it to be true, then it is. I mean, there's no difference to having millions of dollars in the bank or having people perceive that you do. You can get the same stuff. I want to tell all our listeners about the Batman story. It's a pretty interesting story.
So Batman Dead End, we're actually going to have Sandy Clora, the director of that movie, on here. It was a short film that we did, and Sandy was trying to get the job of directing when Christian Bale first came on to take over the franchise. And he did a little 8-minute film. I got the call. I remember Jason Ellis was out. He put a card up at Starbucks. Sandy had auditioned a bunch of bodybuilders to play this part because he wanted a guy with muscles that was athletic. Couldn't find a bodybuilder that had any athleticism. So he was in Starbucks, saw Jason Ellis's card and it said King Covers and all of this sort of stuff. And he said, you know, I'm going to give this guy a call, see if he knows somebody that is a bodybuilder that has all of these elements that I'm looking for. So I get a call from Jason and he goes, Clark, there's an opportunity for you to play in this movie where you could play Batman. He goes, he wants someone with a square jaw, blue eyes, dark hair, deep voice, real muscular body, athletic, and 6 feet tall. And I'm like, dude, that just took me out of the running. I'm 5'8", man, you know? And I would get frustrated when people would call me for these jobs with, you know, you had to be 6 feet. I'd show up and Gunther would be there and all of these big bodybuilders, you know, 6'2", 6'3", and here I am rolling in at 5'8", and I'm like, I'm not going to this audition. And Jason bugged me to go, and I have to give him credit for really pushing me and said, you never know. Hollywood's a different thing. You can make anyone look any size. So I went up to the audition. I got the sides, and I'm reading them, and it was really interesting. I never was a Batman fan. You know, I wasn't a comic book guy growing up, but I went up and I read for the part, and I felt it. I really felt the character, and I knew I nailed it. And Andrew Koenig was there. He played the Joker, and he was Boner. He's a childhood star.
yeah.
He's one of the ones. He's one of those statistics. You know, he took his own life. But he was there, and I remember we read together, and he played the Joker in that movie, and I grabbed him, and we just had this intense moment, and I knew right then that I had it. And I'm driving home, and they give me a call and said, hey, we need you to come back up here really quick. I get to the studio. There's a cowl in there, and it was Michael Keaton's cowl that he wore. They had me put it on, and the director looked at the producer and said, that's our Batman. And they looked at each other and said, hell yeah, that's him. So I didn't know what was going to happen. We shot this little 8-minute film, and it blew up. Matter of fact, we have a lot of funny stories, man. But at Comic-Con, it ended up, we did a really small premiere. All of these independent filmmakers make their short films and show them in these rooms. And there's maybe 10 or 15 guys watching each one, typically friends. But the word got out that they were going to be showing this Batman movie. And a few people had seen it, and it was enough to make it really viral. And this was before viral was a thing. So we get in the room, and all of a sudden the room is packed out. And Sandy said, Clark, you have to come here and look at this. And we have it all on film because there's a documentary about it. I go around the corner, no lie. There was a line as far as the eye could see. And there were people waiting and hearing about this short film. So we played it. People went nuts. Sandy went crazy. I was like, oh my God, did this just happen? They filled the room 2 more times. Fire marshal was going to shut it down. And then they put it in the Masquerade. And the Masquerades had 4,000 or 5,000 people. So when the movie goes to play, the place got completely silent. You could hear literally a pin drop. And then the first beat, it's like, boom, boom. And I'm getting chills. I'm in the back of the room. And we had snuck in because you had to have tickets to get in this thing. And no one knew this was going to play, so it wasn't premeditated or anything. And this thing plays, and people are like, oh my God, what the fuck? What is this? Oh. And there's one scene in the movie that is so dynamic, the place went ape shit. People were on their chairs going nuts, screaming and yelling. So it ends, and I'm sitting back there like, what just happened? I still didn't know what happened. I didn't know the magnitude of, no one really knew. So I go to the bathroom, and I go to leave, and there's a security guard at the door. And I said, hey, man, I got to pee. Can I leave and come back in? He goes, you can do anything you want. You're Batman. I'm like, shit, this guy knows already.
Damn.
And then Mitch and I went to Comic-Con a couple years later. So this thing grew.
The comic book line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This, I'll let Mitch tell that story, but this was the first real viral video that YouTube had ever seen. Batman Dead End, for those of you who've never seen it.
It was all bootlegged.
Oh, it's bootlegged all over. I mean, it's crazy how big this thing got. And I still get fan stuff to this day. They make little, you know, Mego dolls out of me and posters and all sorts of stuff. And at Warner Brothers and DC Comics both called me in. And I talked to them, and this was before Bale, and the president of DC Comics said, Clark, you were the best Batman we'd ever seen.
Wow.
Until we brought Christian Bale in. And I'm like, wow, that's... And to this day, I mean, they still put me in the conversation with who's the best Batman, Clooney, Keaton, Kilmer, Bale,
Didn't you
and
say
Bartram.
in the Warner Brothers studio, they had like pictures of you from the movie
all over,
posted up?
All over the art department. I had a buddy who worked at Warner Brothers, and I saw him at Comic-Con. He said, Clark, I was in the art department today, and there must have been 20 pictures of you plastered on the wall. And the DVD for Batman Dead End was on the table in there. So it is my theory, because Mitch actually practiced the voice with me. Sandy had sent me the animated series and said, this is the voice that I want you to, you know, emulate for this. And Mitch and I, he's like, no, you don't have it yet, you know. And I'd be like, criminal scum like you made me. And he's like, no, you don't have it yet. You got to do it better. And so Mitch drilled me the whole time till I got it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Christian Bale actually copied that.
Wow.
I feel like that's where he got, I really honestly do feel like it. But me and Mitch are at Comic-Con and tell him that story with Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, I was trying to remember who it was.
Yeah.
He's just like
He's an
legendary
artist. Yep.
comic book artist. So Jim Lee, legendary comic book artist for any of you comic book people. He was at Comic-Con. I was there. I was in this gigantic line to get a signed Batman comic book from him that he drew the art for. It was like, was it original?
He was sketching for everybody.
Yeah, he was sketching originals for
Yeah.
everybody. Originals, and you could choose who it was or something, right?
Yeah.
And there's this huge line, and he's just cranking out these drawings, and the line's moving, you know, and I don't know. It's like 5 people. How'd it happen? The next person. So the person in front of me, Jim Lee, ended up going, okay, sorry everybody, but I'm gonna make this the last person. And
His manager said that.
the
and
manager.
Jim Lee had his head down sketching.
Okay,
still.
so it was the person right in front of me. The manager said that person was going to be the last one to get a original sketch from this guy, and I was the cutoff. I was next, but I got cut off, and I was bummed, right? So Jim Lee saw I was bummed or something. I said like, "Oh man, like bummer" or something like that, and he looked at me and was like, "Tell me one reason." Or he's like, "What sketch did you want?" And I was like, "Batman. I want a Batman drawing. Can you draw me Batman?" He's like, "Well, it was the cutoff, blah blah blah. Tell me why." Tell me one reason why you deserve to get a Batman drawing from me. Like, why should I draw you one?
Yeah.
And not all these other people. And I just like pointed at my dad and was like, well, he's Batman. Batman Dead End. And he just looked at him and was like, I don't even remember, but
He's like, oh my God, dude, that is you. That's Batman from Dead End. That movie was sick. He
Yeah.
tripped out, man.
That's so cool.
he's like, why should I draw you a Batman? I was like, this guy just tripped out the whole comic book scene and with Batman Dead End. So.
That was fun, man.
And then
that
I
was
got
really
it.
cool. You did. You
And
still
then he
have
cut
it
the
too.
line off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was that.
Nice.
Yeah, so Jim Lee was like stoked on that, man. So I mean, Guillermo del Toro the other night won 2 Oscars, right? Mm-hmm. He saw Batman Dead End and loved it. I think we even have a testimonial from him, and he was actually going to produce the next movie I did with Sandy. But yeah, there's a whole lot to that movie that will go down in history as it's without a doubt one of the best fan films ever done.
Batman, Predator,
Yeah.
Alien, Joker,
It was a potpourri of
more
just
Predators,
amazing-
more
yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah, it was fun, man. But fun times, man. Absolutely.
What about what about the kind of, was there some letdown there of Bale getting it after you, or did you feel a little left
wasn't-
out when they kept
I wasn't
going?
trying to be an actor.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to do that.
But you didn't get your hopes up?
I didn't get my hopes up at all.
Oh,
I mean,
thank-
it would have been cool.
Thank God.
I've gotten my hopes up for a lot of other stuff, and that sucks, man. When you know you're the perfect guy for a part, and you go in there and you're like, I killed that, I knocked it out of the park. You're leaving, you're like, man, they're going to call me any minute. And then a day goes by. Then 2 days go by. And the horrible thing about Hollywood, and you know this better than anyone, is they just don't call you. It'd be great if they called you and gave you an explanation.
Like you did, if you would have done 5% different, we would have done it. Like, you have no resolution, no closure, no idea. You know? And so you can't improve. You just got to keep showing up and
just keep showing up. Me and Mitch have another good TV story that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, I think this is great for our listeners to get to know you and the broad spectrum and prismatic career you've had, above just being a beautiful face, an author, a coach, an inspirational, motivational coach,
A naked podcast.
a naked podcast extraordinaire, a fantastic, inspirational father, movie star.
But Biggest Loser. It came down to me and Bob Harper on The Biggest Loser.
Oh,
Me and Bob Harper, man.
I would have thrown
It's my
in the
fault.
towel.
It's not Mitch's fault, but I feel good about the decision that I made. Mitch was just starting football, and I had promised him I was going to coach his team. And then on Craigslist, a buddy of mine sent me a link. He said, dude, they're casting for something called a reality show. Reality shows were really nothing back then. And Biggest Loser was, did you just burp and blow it in my face, dude?
I did.
I got like a sweet scent afterwards. It wasn't bad. It didn't stink. Uh-oh.
Oh, there, you just did it. It's over with.
Can you read that?
Toss this.
Yeah.
That
Toss
salad. Toss that salad.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start. It felt like it was right. Did you see the back?
Tempted.
Did you see the back?
I didn't see it. No.
No, we didn't get the back.
It was red. It was red. Toss this.
Toss this salad
Toss this.
Can you get a zoom in on that?
Yeah, let's see. Well, let me see.
with your.
Yes.
What about the sock in front? I just felt like it was time. The sock is really comfortable. If you don't have the sock, there's something about the sock. The Pantsless podcast was birthed on this moment. I just want to document it.
I'm kind of tempted.
The sock?
I know. I'm tempted to pants.
I
this
feel like,
podcast.
hey, whatever makes your freak flag fly. as
Freak
they
flag
say.
fly. You should say that before an audition. Freak flag fly. Freak flag fly. Freak flag fly. Say it. Your turn.
Freak
Quick.
flag fly. I can't do it.
Oh, Mitch.
I won't do that.
Freak flag fly. Yeah, I'm real bad. You did it pretty good.
I did. So anyway, back to my story about The Biggest Loser. I promised Mitch that I was coach his football teams, and I got there. I did the audition, and they wanted you to live in the house at the time. And I said, man, I can't live in the house. I have to be at
They
my
wanted
son's
you to live
football.
in the house.
They wanted the trainers, everyone to live in the house. I'm like, I'm not doing this, man. So anyway, I didn't get that because I sat there after my fourth audition with all the producers and directors and said, you know what, I can't live in the house. And I'll never forget leaving the girl at the reception desk. The receptionist said, you know what, she goes, don't do that, you dummy. I'm like, what? She goes, you got to get him pregnant first. Don't tell him everything up front. Let him fall in love with you and then tell him all that stuff later.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's my problem. I'm too honest. And I don't consider that a problem.
No,
I
that's
consider
good,
it,
man.
Yeah.
So you chose to coach Mitch's football team over be on The Biggest Loser.
It wasn't a conscious decision, but it was a statement of passion that I made because I gave my son my promise. And I grew up with broken promises from my dad. And I told myself, I'm not doing this to my kid. If I tell him I'm doing something, I really want to follow through with it. And I feel very fortunate and happy that I did because I have a lifetime of memories of coaching him from flag football. And then when he went away to college in Illinois, I flew to every game. I would get his buddies and say, let's go on a road trip. Let's fly to a game.
But was it freak flag football?
Freak flag football.
Did it
Freak
fly?
flag football. Freak
Was
flag
it-
football. Freak flag football.
This is seriously some very honorable and commendable stuff I'm hearing, man. I never knew that about you. I'm learning new stuff.
You know,
And it would have been you. I mean, because I'm looking at you and I'm just like, this guy is a superstar. Like, you know, like you just are. You have it inside. So
I appreciate that.
I mean,
Andrew
it would have
McGlory
been
says,
you.
check your messenger, Mitch.
Toss me my phone.
wait, I think this camera angle's too low. The Pantsless podcast. We're gonna have to do a new. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do a new icon logo. Are you okay with that, Clark?
Sure, whatever.
I mean, I think
Is
it's
it the
the-
sock? Look, you got the cover going.
There you go. I think it. You know, even if it's just boxers, I think there's something cool to that.
Oh, we don't have to be completely butt naked?
No, I don't.
No,
think
boxers. You
Just-
can
Oh,
have
okay.
boxers on.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I
The
wasn't gonna
Pantsless
get naked.
podcast with Clark Bartram, Mitch Bartram. We're getting raw. We're just, you know, it's like a vow of silence. It's like going vegan. I mean, you're just, you know, you're putting your shorts on the table and your money where your mouth is.
Oh,
There we go. Pantsless podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Now your mom can't get mad at me because you joined in.
me?
Yeah.
The Pantsless podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson. It has officially begun. Raw dog. Your authentic
He
self.
keeps saying,
Just
check
at the
your
ankles.
messenger, check your
check your
messenger.
messenger,
doing?
check your messenger, check your messenger.
I checked it, man.
Yeah,
Harris Chris. Check
yeah.
him out. I don't have the hard thing is, Andrew, is that I don't have I have an Instagram profile, but I don't have an app for it and I'm not logged in.
Sorry, bud.
I haven't been on Instagram in a couple, maybe over a year. But I'll do it for you right now, okay? I'll do it. I'll log in. Hopefully if it lets me go just to the mobile website cuz I don't feel like downloading an app. Oh, I'm logged in.
There you go.
All right, we're on it.
So I want to apologize to my wife right now in advance for the Pantsless podcast, but you can't see anything. I'm just in regular. These are just shorts. It's just another set of shorts. It's no different than a woman going to the beach in a bikini. You know what I mean? Isn't that an interesting thing? Someone can go to the beach in a bikini, which is probably less or more revealing a lot of times than their actual underwear is. And if you walk into a room and someone's in their underwear, they like immediately do the full-blown duck cover kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
But they'll walk around on the beach with no, I don't want to use the word shame because there should be no shame. I mean, you're out there doing what everyone does. You're going to the beach. But what is it about that?
Well, that's why I want to do it. We want to break stigmas, right? We want to, it's an offering. It's an offering of
freedom.
Courage and freedom.
Expression.
Dropping walls down, breaking the stigmas. Dropping drawers and knocking down walls. We'll come up with some cool stuff. I feel like we're going to come up with some cool stuff, and feel like it's going to be really interesting getting like some big time authors in here and some prestigious gentlemen that are
and
like,
you
by
have
the
to
way,
keep it at your ankles?
wear a
Do you have
great
to
pair
keep
of
your pants at your
boxers.
ankles? Or,
you don't have to, but
you can take them off.
I'm okay
Mine's
with that.
off.
Yeah, yours are off. Mine are around my ankles. Sometimes I'll drop my drawers down to my ankles in the urinal.
Oh, okay.
You ever do that?
No.
No.
Oh, it's fun.
Not
Just
once.
You get
maybe
pee
when I
all
was
over
a
your
little
pants.
child.
You lean and you just look around at the people.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
just for some
Like a
shock
little
factor.
kid.
Like a
No,
little
that's-
kid. Yeah.
Like you see a little 2-year-old
Drop 'em
kid and they're
down,
peeing.
yeah. Underwear out my ankles, leaning forward.
I'm not there yet, but it's
It's
One
fun.
hand on the wall.
Try
Sounds
that.
fun.
Try it.
It would be funny for sure. Freak some people out.
Preach it. We got people liking it. True.
So, Mitch, I want to hear more from you, brother, because like I said, I'm a fan of my son. I'm a fan of my daughter. Mitch, like I was saying, is a very accomplished athlete. He played quarterback at the collegiate level. He's had, Gary talked about having over 3,000 concussions.
Yeah, I've had a handful of those.
Yeah.
Well, the way he spoke about it, I have no idea how many I've had. When he spoke about it as like, grade ones. Grade one concussions were to me just, another play. Nothing big. I smell some blood. Let me continue. That was about it. I mean,
Brain
maybe
bleeding?
smell some blood was grade 2 or something.
Wow.
Grade 1 is really every single play. I mean, especially when you're a lineman. Obviously, I was a quarterback. I didn't take, as a lineman, you're smashing heads
Right.
constantly. You're not gonna have one play where you don't smash a head unless you're pulling and like nobody's there or something like that. But as a quarterback, you're not getting hit on every single play. But I got hit a lot because I was a running quarterback, especially in high school. The majority of my offense, check out those thighs.
RPO.
Milky.
The majority of my offense was, or like what I did on offense was running. I think I had more rushing yards than I had passing yards, or close, or something. And I didn't shy away in high school from hits. I think this is really hilarious that I'm just with no pants on right now. I'm all trying to be serious, and I'm on, what is this on Facebook Live?
Yeah, it's non-duality,
Dude,
man.
you're just in shorts.
No, I
You're
mean, I'm not embarrassed. I just think it's like funny.
You're closer to your authentic self right now than maybe you've ever been. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
I
dope.
want to know about the T-shirt line. I want.
Well, before we get to his T-shirt
Yeah,
line, I
yeah,
want to tell him
because
about the
there's so
game.
much
He
to
played a
fit in
game
with
with a
it.
broken collarbone
oh,
after.
Okay, so I'll get through this. So.
Yeah,
Yes,
you can't be
I've
as long
had-
as you normally are.
Nah,
Okay.
I talk so much. How much time we have?
Well, we don't want to go too long because
All right.
I'm in my underwear after all.
So, I've had many concussions. I've had one where I was knocked unconscious, and that was actually the first time that happened to me, and it followed a broken collarbone, which was the first time I had a broken bone. So I broke a bone for the first time in my life and was knocked unconscious for the first time in my life in the same game. So that was my second game of my junior year. My second game being on varsity. I'm a starting quarterback. I'm a small dude. And we were playing at the time Marietta Valley. They were super good, and they were like undefeateders for the last year, something like that. And they had this huge ass lineman, this nose guard. He was like 300 pounds, and he had all these scholarship offers coming for him and stuff like that. What?
Someone asked, what did we have for breakfast? Apparently someone's farting. And they can smell it or something, because I don't know what gave it away. Maybe it was the noise, but go ahead, Mitch. I'm sorry.
So I get to this play. I'm rolling right, which means I'm sprinting laterally, to the sideline. And I throw the ball, bad pass, incomplete. It skips on the floor, plays over. I'm kind of slowly slowing down from my sprint to the sideline. And as I kind of am relaxing, I just get blindside blasted. Full on bear hugged, arms inside of his grasp, so I'm helpless. I can't put my hand down, and not that would have helped, but couldn't do anything. I was just squeezed right here, and I could remember falling with him in midair with him on top of me, thinking, this is exactly how Coach Foot told me you break a collarbone, because I was in Coach
Isn't it amazing how your mind can go through all of that?
It was athletic training. I had Coach Foot. He's my athletic trainer. That dude's dope. He would talk about, how bones are broken, like what is how it actually goes down. And one of the ones with breaking your collarbone is, you fall on your elbow, or and I think I might have fallen on my elbow because I was trying to get out of his grip or something, but I just remember falling thinking my collarbone's about to break. Sure enough,
Crazy.
I get sandwiched against the floor by this 300-pound dude, and bow, snaps. And maybe it just cracked a little bit because I actually snapped it later. So it cracked, and I remember just being in excruciating pain, crawling, just, damn, okay. I just hurt my shoulder, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I went to the sideline.
I was standing right there next to Coach Foot.
Went up to Coach Foot.
With the typical sign, like the international sign
tilted,
of broken collarbone.
Head tilted towards the bone, shrugging that shoulder.
Yeah.
And, just trying to, like, oh, fuck,
So
I went to the sideline, like this. I said, I hurt my shoulder. I did something. I'm not sure what happened. And he just goes, he puts his hand in there. He's feeling it. I don't feel any breaks. It might be a bruise, but I don't think there's any breaks. I think you should be fine. He shoves an ice pack underneath my shoulder pads, and he told me I could keep playing, and I wanted to keep playing, and my coach wanted me to keep playing, so I took the ice pack out because that's only going to cool me down and make me feel worse probably. So I took it out, and first thing my coach says is, "Can you still run?" And I was like, "Sure." So I go back in next series or whatever, and I do a bootleg, and as soon as I fake the handoff and I turn around, I get blasted by this linebacker. That's when I went unconscious, straight to the floor, blacked out.
Ouch.
I woke up thinking I was playing safety on defense, and the punter, Reggie Wilson, had to come out and be like, dude, just go to the sideline. You're tripping. And so I went to the sideline and ended up playing the rest of the game with what I thought was just some pain in my shoulder that I didn't know, what it was. My coach told me, my athletic trainer told me I was fine. I thought, I don't know, maybe it was minor and I'm just in some pain. Kept playing. I ended up throwing the game-winning touchdown. It was my throwing shoulder as well. Ended up throwing with it. Actually, I threw a slant and I heard it snap. And I was like, okay, it's broken. And then I ended up throwing I lobbed a pass into the end zone, and it was pretty underthrown, but luckily the corner was garbage, and
you ended up winning the game. Those guys were good,
went straight
too.
to the hospital.
Won the game.
Broken.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Oh, right as it cut off. Right
So the clothing line.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked to Gary about this last week, and I've shared a little bit, about myself and how important it is to, you can't go from being the star athlete to like being a regular dude. You know what I mean? It's just, there's intensity there. There's disciplines there. You're used to, applying yourself to something bigger than you and stuff like that. And, I've seen your kind of career life, and direction change from, traveling outside the country, doing like basically mission stuff, the clothing line, the artistic outlet, shaman experiences probably mixed in there, you've done this like amazing transition, metamorphosis, if you will, you know what I mean? And you're like, you were alluding to earlier, being allowed to do that, being allowed to work on yourself, grow your spiritual life and expand your mind and horizon. And, probably different types of friends in your life and different types of passions and purposes. Like there's a lot to fit in a small amount of time. 'Cause how lucky you are to be able to do that. And I just want to like talk to us about the clothing line. Talk to us about your travel. Talk to us about your
At
your
22,
quest.
you're an
He's on a
accomplished
quest.
dude.
He's on a quest.
Well,
you know what I mean?
guy for 22.
How much time do I have? Because
Yeah.
this could go forever. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
try
we
to
don't want to
keep
get
it
too. We're gonna
condensed.
go about another 10 minutes on this.
Just give
If
me,
you had
give
5
me warnings
minutes-
throughout. Be
if
like,
you had
okay,
5
wrap it up.
minutes
I can. This we could have started at the beginning. I could have still
Right.
been talking. So
If you had 5 minutes to inspire other
It's gonna be
people
longer than
your
5 minutes.
age, you know, to shake the bullshit, and to get out of the freaking matrix, you know, what would you say? What you know?
okay, well, so should I start with that, or should I start with what I've been up to?
Whatever you feel is in your
So
heart.
I
right
guess
now.
I'll start. I'll just answer that question. That kind of is. I felt some pressure when you said that because like I don't have the answers for you. You know what I mean? The only thing I can do is speak from how I feel about myself and where I've come and what I've done, and I truly wholeheartedly believe it has been good. You know, I'm headed in the right direction, and I'm happy about who I am and where I'm going, and how that came about was honestly my identity being torn away because I was nothing but a football player my entire life. I was the quarterback, and that's the only thing that I was. You know, other than that, maybe I was this athlete. But if I'm not the quarterback, I'm athletic. You know what I mean? So it was always sports, and it was football, and I didn't think I knew I was going to be playing football for the rest of my life. I didn't care who said it doesn't happen for the rest of your life. You got to have a backup. I'm like, what do I need a backup for if it's going to happen? Then what do you need a backup for? And I heard everybody talking, and it's just like, dude, I'm doing it. And
There's a passage in the Bible about that. You brought that up earlier. Bible passages about when you come to the shore in the ships, send the ships away. So there's no choice to go back. You don't want a plan B.
Right.
You're dedicated to your plan A.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And the thing is that like people were like, oh, what if you get injured and stuff like that? That's not how my career ended. It ended because I chose for it to end. So I guess the thing is I went to college to play football, and I can look back and really appreciate the experience and love it and love the friends I met and the lessons I learned. And going away to college my freshman year was huge. How real am I getting?
Get real.
I don't know if people can handle it.
I think they're ready, bro.
We're naked podcasting right now.
We
So
got no pants on.
we've already stripped ourselves of,
So I'll balance it out. So I got a scholarship to go play football in St. Louis, and I was thinking, okay, man, this is my time. You know, I'm graduating. I'm never going to be here again with my friends. I got to start exploring. I never went to a party. I never did anything, man. I was super introverted, and I still am to some degree, but super introverted. I didn't, nothing. Didn't drink.
the antithesis of what everyone thought he was or
Smoked
should
weed
be.
one time. My freshman year, never did again. I had, I wasn't like promiscuous. I was in a relationship my entire high school career.
Perfect sweetheart.
Yeah,
Perfect
and
little sweetheart. America's sweetheart.
And I was thinking
Right?
like, man, I gotta have some fun before I go. So that's when it kind of changed for me a little bit, and I started exploring a little bit more, smoking weed, drinking.
What? You smoke weed?
And that,
Sad noise.
and that's just me thinking like, okay, I mean, everybody says it's fun, like maybe I should try it because like, and I had fun. I went to parties and I drank and I had fun and stuff, but I went to school and just realized, man, I don't enjoy drinking. I don't enjoy like unconsciously doing things like just getting faded and going and being stupid or not being thoughtful of people or yourself. And I didn't know that at the time. I can put those words to it now, but at the time I just was like, I don't like this. School sucked. I hated school. I hated football, hated my coaches, loved my friends, and we all sulked together in that same space with each other. We all were in the same space and felt the same way. So that was my only thing is I had a couple friends. I had an amazing roommate, Martez.
Shout out to Martez.
Martez, yeah, I love you. That's one of my best friends for life, and he was my roommate. And I woke up one morning to this guy zipping his bags and saying, I have to go. I'm sorry, man. He just gave me a hug, and he got in his mom's car and went back home to Peoria, Illinois, and I was alone in my room for the next, half of the school year, and I put up a black blanket on my window and shut myself in and was solitary confinement by, voluntary. and I started studying shit that I was never introduced to, things that were, you know, that I was finding for myself. For example, I was studying metaphysics, psychedelic entheogens, you know, meditation. I started practicing astral meditation and just exploring things, consciousness, and things that I had never even known existed before. And I'm like, wait, there's more? That, like, what is this? What are these things that you can do? So started doing that, and I just realized, like, man, maybe I just hate this school. So I dipped. I transferred to Palomar College in San Marcos, California, right next to my house. Played there, had a very successful year there, won a bowl game, had some scholarships coming in. I was like, okay, it wasn't the school. It's football. Maybe it's not football. It's me, you know? I don't want to do this anymore. I met an amazing person who confirmed that I wanted to quit football, and we went to Thailand, Asia together. I lived in Thailand with her for 2 months and Indonesia for 1 month. Learned a lot there about myself, about, you know, relationships, and just continued exploring, you know, in anything I do. I'm sitting here exploring consciousness right now. It's not like a thing that you go do when you in your room alone. Like, it's at all times. So that I started being introduced to being in that in all times, and came back, worked for a year. Then I went to Ecuador for 3 months. You know, I was a kindergarten teacher for 2 months, and then I was a recreation leader in the markets of Ecuador, you know, doing daycare for kids and educational activities for kids who worked in the markets and couldn't go to school or needed help with classes because they were privileged enough to make it to school. Came back. I worked on a permaculture farm while I was there. That was pretty awesome. I came back for 2 months, and then I went to Mexico for 2 more months. Built an earth bag house. Look those up if you don't know what it is. Earth bag house. It's pretty dope. Earth. It's like sustainable, organic, awesome house that you can build right now. And worked on a permaculture farm. Did not like it. I got extremely sick. My dad came out there to kick it with me. We kicked it out there. Came back, and I guess I'll rewind a little bit. After I quit football at Palomar, I was thinking, like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? So I was like, okay, I had a clothing line when I was younger, a skateboard company. I was in 8th grade. I had a skateboard company called Ultimatum Skateboards. And, you know, I had some skateboard decks made and some t-shirts, and I sold those and lost a shitload of money. And, but it was fun. I learned from it. And
I kept telling you you're going to learn a lesson from this someday.
I know.
Just 2 days ago, you said,
man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Dan, you're right.
So I was like, maybe I kind of just want to do another clothing company again. And so I started doing tie-dye shirts. My clothing company is called Higher Realm, and I was doing tie-dye shirts, and it was amazing. I busted out some fantastic art that I'm really proud of, and I created and expressed, and it was cool, but it was extremely tedious and not scalable and not a good business plan. So I wanted to kind of see what I could do with that while spreading the same message that I believe in, which is my brand is Higher Realm, Heal Thyself. And basically my life is dedicated to waking up every day to excavate things that need to be brought up in you, you know, the warrior's way. You face what's difficult to face. You know, if you feel like something's uncomfortable, explore that, because that's where your growth comes from. The source of all growth is discomfort. You can't get comfortable. You can't grow being comfortable. It's just a fact. You don't get stronger by benching air. You get stronger by benching weight. And what is it? Uncomfortable. Yeah. It's like that. It's a microcosm.
And progressively heavier. As soon as it gets easy.
And I'm getting heavier, and it's not more weight though. It's just I'm getting stronger. And so every day I face, you know, what's difficult to face. You know, that means in my relationship I need to face, okay, why was I jealous? And then I explore that. Why was I this? Why do I feel this way? I have something. There's an elephant in the room when I'm with my sister. We need to talk about that. Well, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about that, man. I'm nervous. That's why you do it. And then I go straight for it. We had a talk the other day and released some amazing things that we had to release, and I feel a lot better. And that's what my brand is about. Higher Realm, clothes for healing. Heal thyself, explore, discover, heal thyself. So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating all my art for myself. I'm learning graphic design, so I draw it up and then I put it on Adobe Illustrator. I make it, and then we have the printer at the house. Some of you guys may have seen. You know, I'm finding manufacturers right now for hats. I'm trying to decide on a shirt, you know, so I'm just trying to make dope art and put it into my clothes because I think it'll look cool and because it'll be spreading something that I really believe in. So,
and that's why I'm a fan of Mitch Bartram.
I mean, but all those keg parties you missed, all those chicks,
man,
all that.
He doesn't have a shortage of girls.
That box you could have been in. Oh.
Jim wants to play the CBT's commercial right now.
He does.
He wants to play that. So he you know, Providence Video Productions is responsible for this entire podcast. And we'll have a Higher Realm commercial on here eventually.
I love that. You know, I think my takeaway from this and what I'm getting here is how important it is for parents to be supportive of this type of, I mean, if you're shocked and appalled that your kids are smoking weed, like, or if your kids are started to drink, like it's so dangerous. You know what I mean? Because parents all smoked weed or like drank in high school. People change. People need to go through experiences and discover themselves. And if you demonize stuff, it makes it so much worse. Yeah. And I mean, just what you're doing with meditation and astral meditation, I mean, that stuff's amazing. But if you're going in there by yourself, not supported by others, I've seen people get lost.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and they get sucked up into the freaking cosmos and like don't come back.
It's tough because like I was scared to come home from McKendree and tell my dad that I've been doing astral projection.
I'll never forget. We were touring Palomar. No, we were touring Palomar College.
Sure?
We were going through the parking lot, and you said, "Dude, I got something to tell you. I'm really nervous about this, man."
Well, because I was raised Christian. My dad was a devout Christian.
Still is.
I don't know if that's yeah. You know,
shout out to Jesus.
I was raised in that culture, going to church every Sunday, seeing people be Christian, and I didn't really jive with it. And you know, I'm exploring. I have the greatest relationship with God than I've ever had in my entire life, and
amen, bro.
That's because I'm exploring myself and my relationship with my body and with my health, and that's my relationship with God and nature and just being connected with people and speaking your truth. And we're all experiencing God right now. You don't have to go to a church to
that's right, to
be saved. We are all
it's real talk right there.
Experiencing God as we speak. Yep. You're not gonna.
You're doing things.
Yeah,
you're doing things.
You're good.
People proud of you, Mitch. The epitome of transformation. Just dangling.
What was I getting at though?
You were getting at your experience in life and where it's brought you.
About the support of.
But what I was saying was I was raised that way. You didn't have to hide it. That's I was raised that way, so I was, and my mom has kind of been skeptical of things like that in the past. I can remember her saying like, psychics are bad, and I don't know if bad was the word, but that it wasn't something like, if it wasn't Christian, you know what I mean, then it's got to be something to be weary of. Mm-hmm. So I was, not sure if what I was experiencing was going to be accepted and what I was, interested in was going to be accepted. So I told my dad, I'm really nervous to tell you this. I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but I think it's good for me. Like, I'm really just exploring myself right now. I'm doing astral projection. So, and then he fully supported it, and he actually went and had a very intense astral projection experience for himself on his very first attempt, and it was amazing. And
Mitch got jealous of it. He's like, "What, dude? You were in there for like 2 hours. What happened?"
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't even do that.
I'm like, really? It felt like it was
a really
15
cool
minutes.
experience that he had meditating. That confirmed for him that what I was doing was not some scary thing. I was just exploring myself, and my mom's on board, and everybody's on board, and it just made it so I didn't have to go experience some thing that I was truly interested in. If I went and I, took a substance because I want, and I learned so much about myself, and now I'm very in touch with myself and have a deeper faith in God. And I can't go home and tell my mom and my dad that I have a deeper faith in God because I might have,
We're energetically connected to our parents, whether we want to or not.
Right.
And if we have a doubting, fearful energy at home and we're out trying to be courageous and adventurous,
I can speak on that, but I
that's
don't know if
not
that's
good.
something I could talk about.
maybe part 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind it personally, but we're probably going to wrap this up
Yeah.
here in a little bit because people got better things to do than sitting
Dying
here
for
and
a
watch us in their underwear.
CBT
Commercial?
commercial.
Oh,
Where's
let's
that?
see it. We got to show the
What about CB undies?
CB undies. I'm going to make some.
What about
CBT's
And we'll be rocking those.
Performance Apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBT's Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com.
Oh, he put a little voiceover to it. You notice there was no
I
voiceover
did-
to it.
I
Lad. Good
did.
job, Jim. Give
Podcast
yourself a hand.
The
Providence
CBT
Video.
JJ is sponsored by Providence Video Productions in
Ooh.
Escondido, California. Providers of full creative, video, and audio production services. Utilizing state-of-the-art professional equipment for all your broadcast needs.
what?
Web page, embedded or live streaming videos and podcasts.
Yes.
Aerial drone videography. Music videos, 3D animation, studio and field production. Contact us at providencevid.com.
Booyah!
His commercial was like 2 times as long as mine, though.
Multimedia
It was like a
monsters.
feature
Hey,
film.
man. He's so behind the scenes, he's got to get in there soon.
Multimedia monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I'm so enthused by what happened here tonight, Mitch. I want to thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone because I know you didn't want to come here tonight. I know a lot of times you kind of push away from getting involved with me, but I want to just congratulate you on your professionalism to step up and really be someone that is doing exactly what you said you're going to do. You stepped outside of your comfort zone tonight.
The warrior way.
Forever grateful. The warrior way. Jeremy, I'm going to let you take us home tonight.
Pantsless.
Bye, guys. We love you.
Thank you.
That is all. Thank you for being you. Push yourself. The warrior way.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone. Do something courageous. If
And
it's
get
not
out of your
tonight,
pants.
Get out of your pants, baby. This is the Pantsless Podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson. Big thank you to our guest, Mitch Bartram.
Dude, my legs are sweating.
CBT's Performance Apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBT's Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com. The podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson, sponsored by CBT's.